if we're consciousness experiencing itself, then every time we check in on what we're observing or how we're feeling or what we're doing, it creates a story.
I learned this recently that the breath we make, in and out, is actually the name of God. Yahweh is the name of God.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. Oh, whoa. That's
you don't need your
really
tongue,
cool.
you don't need your lips, it's just the sound of breath. So when you come into this world as a baby, your first breath is saying the name of God. When you take your last breath, the last thing you say on this earth is the name of God.
One of the things I'm quite passionate about is being intentional with our intake. Our minds are projectors, not cameras.
Yeah.
So what we intake, we end up projecting, playing in our minds, looping over and over.
Now that you've done it, now go pay it forward to somebody.
Yes.
Now help them do what you just did, and that creates a bigger community. Good day, my friends. Billy Mandarino here, the NOW-IST, and welcome to the NOW-IST Experience podcast. I'm here today with our special guest, Gabi Pereverziev. She's an incredible light. She's a channeler. She's an inspiring soul. She is an entrepreneur, and she also brings a lot of sound energy through people's being and helps them find their light in a bigger and better way. Welcome
Thank you, Billy.
to the
I'm
NOW-IST
so
Experience
excited to be
podcast.
here.
I'm so happy to have you.
Me too. I'm so excited to be here. And what a
We
beautiful day.
are in this incredible space in Santa Barbara, California. It's Dart Coffee's secret garden, right?
Yeah.
And we're having Dart Coffee, plug to Dart. Thank you for letting us be in this space and having this wonderful conversation
Yeah.
with Gabby.
Yeah.
Tell me about you and how you experience this world and how you help people experience this world in a bigger way.
Well, first, how I experience this world. Whew, what a question. That makes me want to dive into what is experience,
That's
you
good.
know?
That's what it's about. We're just being our authentic selves.
Like, experience is an ever-evolving thing, because if we're consciousness experiencing itself, then every time we check in on what we're observing or how we're feeling or what we're doing, it creates a story. And so I've gone through my experience of life learning how to choose those stories so that they can align with, you know, me being here to help the earth. Like, I feel like I came here, I was like, yeah, I'm gonna go be Gabby. I'm gonna go just see how I can help here, because earth needs some help right now, you know?
Amen. I'm so
So-
with you, and that's why you're our guest. I'm so grateful to our wonderful
you.
video master Alejo
Yeah,
and
me
producer and my soul brother. I call him my synchro bro because we have so many synchronicities that tie us together. But
Yeah.
we always have wonderful guests, and I want to thank Alejo for that, because you and I are here exactly at the right amount of time when we're supposed to be here. And speaking of you being a servant for the world, I feel similar. Our mission is to be of service to this planet.
Yeah.
We all incarnate exactly when we're supposed to be here. We
Yeah.
show up right on time. And then if you can follow that bliss, as Joseph Campbell said, follow your bliss, that's when you find your authentic self. That's when you find
Yeah.
your purpose. And that's when you show up in the world in the best way possible.
Exactly.
So not competing with the Joneses, not trying to, how many likes is my life worth on,
Right.
on this world of social media and such.
Yeah.
But how to be more yourself and then follow that inspiration and then serve it out to people. And that's what you do. That's why I'm so excited to have you here.
Thank you. I honestly, like, that speaks to one of the biggest shifts I've had. I'm 27,
Whoa.
which, yeah, I'm a youngin'.
It's a magic number.
I'm
That's
still learning
9.
how to be in the world,
That's
you know?
9. That's good.
Yeah, yeah. And one of the biggest things or shifts that I had that have helped me also help other people is learning where to operate from and where to make decisions from. And that's, you know, you're saying follow your bliss. Like, it's taken me a few experiences to learn that when I make decisions out of my inspiration rather than out of fear or out of like necessity, that my life turns out to be this, where it's like, yeah, we're in perfect timing, we're in flow. It's a lot easier to trust the unfolding of what's going on. It's a lot easier to trust that I know I have the right words, or I know I have what I need. I'm equipped with what I need to navigate any situation, whether it's good or bad. Like, one of my main favorite things to implement is just the idea that it's a good day no matter what, and everything is working out best case scenario.
There's a lot of power in that.
That's my mantra.
It's a phenomenal mantra because words are so powerful. As you know.
Yeah.
Words have an energy and a frequency in them themselves. Dr. Emoto.
Yes,
wrote
exactly.
The book, the hidden
the
message
water.
of water and the power of words, and how any word we tell ourselves affects the water of our body. We're mostly water.
Exactly.
The frequency and how that affects our cells and affects our energy.
Yeah.
Words can change your day. And if you have a mantra like that, and as you know, because I understand you work with people helping them reprogram their subconscious minds
Yeah.
through wiring new neural expressions in their body,
Yeah.
so you can change your subconscious programming.
Yes.
Words, mantras, mudras, prayers, sound. Ooh, talk to me
It's
about sound. I know
sound.
you were
It's all
involved in
sound.
sound healing too, right?
Yes. Yes. And I know you're an artist too, right? So I
Yes.
know you get the power
We're
of
all creators. We're all
movement
artists.
through sound, because I mean, sound is pure vibration, and we are literally just electrified molecules moving around. So when we have the influence of sound, which is creation, like these birds, this wind, even wind makes sound through what it touches. So, and we can't see wind, but in the same way that sound, we might not be able to see its waves, but those vibrations can change everything. And so when we get intentional about those sounds and start to understand, you know, we emote through sounds. We process emotions through sound. When we learn to not repress, I don't want to cover my mic. When we learn to not repress anything, you know, what will naturally come out is crying or laughing or, you know, and that's presence. That's authentic.
That's true, authentic.
You know?
So it's back to the sound energy, right?
Yeah.
Think about the sound. I learned this recently that the breath we make, in and out, is actually the name of God. Yahweh is the name of God.
Yeah,
So
yeah. Oh, whoa.
you don't need your
really
tongue,
cool.
you don't need your lips. It's just the sound of breath. So when you come into this world as a baby, your first breath is saying the name of God. When you take your last breath, the last thing you say on this earth is the name of God. So think about a
Wow.
brilliant divine creator, God, universal divine mind, the source,
Yeah.
that brings us into this incarnation with breath. But on
Yeah.
that breath is the name.
Yeah.
And that's the word, talking about the power of words.
Yeah.
This just blows me away when I learned
Yeah.
that from these great theologians and these people that study
Right.
the power of words and how words. I mean, even when you go into, there's this book that Greg Braden wrote called The Moses Code. I don't know if you've ever read it. But it talks about how in the Torah, the first 5 books of the Old Testament, there's this thing called ESL, equidistant letter sequence. They take 50 letters in. So they make a question. They pose a question to the Torah. And then they go 50 letters in, and they go 50 letters in from the end because they wrote from right to left, opposed from left to right. So there's this whole, it's called the Moses Code. So they put all this in a big computer, and they can ask questions to this code, the Moses Code.
You know it.
And then they can get answers. Like it predicted John F. Kennedy's assassination.
Yeah.
Yitzhak Rabin, when he was killed, it had the
Yeah.
name, the street, and the person that assassinated him.
Yeah.
So think about words, the power of words, and the power of this global intention that we all have, and these incredible books that are here to serve us, which
Yeah.
are words again, and
Yeah.
energy.
Exactly.
We can connect to the energy. I mean, a wonderful spiritual teacher named Nisar Gadata Maharaj, I don't know if you ever read his book, I Am That. He says you don't even have to read it.
Yeah.
Just carry it, put it in your glove box, because the
Yeah.
energy in that book will help balance your energy.
Okay, something I kind of had a brain blast about recently is, you know how like we'll record videos to post to social media, keep them in our drafts. Sometimes we never post them, sometimes we do. Or sometimes we just record them on our phones. Like our phones are this library, you know, of information of us and of all. And I had this brain blast recently of, in the same way that a book carries frequencies, the videos and words, messages we keep on our phone that we keep on us all day, every day, those are quantumly creating whether we post them and allow them to be observed or not. And so there's a practice that I began doing where I would record myself speaking what my life is in terms of present, but what I wanted to create, what I wanted to bring into my life. And then I just save it as a draft, or I just keep it on my phone in the background and let that quantify. Because the thing is, when we open our channels, our hearts, our systems, drop into our bodies, get clear on what's speaking to us and what we're speaking to, then it becomes this game of finding the frequencies, the dimensions that we are constantly interweaving with our daily choices.
Right.
And so when we have these things in the background supporting us, like if we have a program running in our mind and our consciousness that's speaking against something that we want, like I'm not worthy of X, Y, or Z, but we're able to rewrite those programs through little actions every day. Like even if it's just carrying a thing on your phone that
Right.
says the opposite, or some people put tattoos or carry books. You know, it gets us closer and closer into the interwovenness of all of these choices and decisions, and teaches us how to align more and more and more, because it puts these serendipities in front of us and gives us more choices and more choices. And, you know, eventually we come to the place where hopefully we learn that there's no right or wrong decision when we're trying to get to where we're going, because it will always
It's just alignment.
be creating from the frequency that we're in.
That's so powerful what you just shared. Everybody, I want you to rewind that and put it on your phone. I want you to put that on your phone, because that was like amazing. My heart exploded because it was so fresh. Because how many, yes, I've talked about, of course, I'm currently reading the New Testament. I love reading all kinds of spiritual books. But when you think about the power of a book, I get that. And you think in millennia, there's just been all these phenomenal books, and you keep reading them and you keep taking them in. But the frequency of your own voice on your phone, and you think about similarly, because I've never thought about it. You just brought a whole brand new idea to me, so thank you for that.
Yeah.
And thank you.
Oh, my pleasure.
Thank Gabby. Because that was powerful. Because you make all these notes on your phone, and I do. I'm a musician, and you're a musician.
Yeah.
I record song ideas on my phone, and they stay on my phone. And your phone is always with you pretty much, right? And if you got that in the quantum universe, you just manifested this experience, this vocalization, this kind of incantation, if you will, of something you want to manifest or something you want to share, artistically express. But it's with you all the time. It's just like those books.
Yeah.
But it's your voice, which has a different frequency, has your frequency.
Yeah.
So it's all about alignment, like we were saying.
Yeah.
It's all about alignment. If you can align with that, then you have it with you. You already put it into this other timeline.
Exactly.
This other quantum realm that you just need to manifest.
When you're giving yourself permission, it's all permission. At the end of the day, like our blocks just come from ourselves learning how to feel worthy, or how to give ourselves permission to do the things, you know? And alternatively too, that's one of the things I'm quite passionate about is being intentional with our intake. Like our minds are projectors, not cameras.
Yeah.
So what we intake, we end up projecting, playing in our minds, looping over and over. So when we have things that we're carrying around that aren't in alignment or aren't what we want, like we can remove those. We can re-implement with things that we do want. You know, we don't have to watch those negative things on the internet, or we don't have to save notes about ourselves that aren't, you know, what we're wanting to intake. It is very important to write down the things we're trying to release, but I say put those on paper and burn it in fire.
Alejo. Has he told you what he does at a new moon?
Is that what you do?
Alejo's behind the camera right now, everybody.
Woohoo.
Alejo. Love you, Alejo.
That's
Peace,
it.
love. Hey, so he says at a new moon, he writes everything down on that he wants to let go and surrender, right? Or for just kind of forgive himself, release it.
Yeah.
Writes it down, burns them up on the new moon because it's a new lunar cycle, right, Alejo?
Begins a new cycle.
Exactly. That's so brilliant.
Which one just passed?
Yeah, it just happened on Friday. And I mean, that brings us back into our bodies, right? It's like when we're tuned into our bodies, then naturally things will occur with the cycles. Like you don't even have to pay, it's like the book. You don't even have to pay attention to where the moon cycle is if you're in your body and in your rhythm.
You intuitively
Then
tap
the
into
things
it.
will naturally flow as you're meant to release and bring in.
We are so sticky, aren't we, as human beings on this planet in this time? We're so sticky to emotions, to energy, to other people, to other people's opinions of us.
We're like little kids, little toddlers running around with sticky fingers.
It's so right. Like we gotta be less sticky. That's why.
Or accept the stick.
Yeah, exactly. And
Either
surrender
way.
to it and just
Yeah.
allow it to be, and don't put any negative energy
Exactly.
or
Don't create the
attachment.
story.
The thing is, I love Rumi. It says, is it Rumi talked about the polished mirror of your heart. Rumi has this beautiful quote that the more beautiful than the stars, with all the clarity of the polished mirror of your heart, which means we need to be polished like a mirror, so it's not so sticky.
Yeah.
But you have to be authentic
See
and
the
purely in
reflection.
your heart, which is the most magnetic part of your body. You need to connect to that fresh truth that is you,
Yeah.
and then not be sticky. So if you're clear, and to clean that energy, my favorite, Ho'oponopono prayer is the one that I find. Have you ever heard of the Ho'oponopono prayer?
Oh yeah,
Please
yeah,
forgive
yeah.
me. I am sorry. Thank you. I love you.
Yeah.
That to me unsticks me
Oh my
from
gosh.
all the negative energy.
Alejo did that for me one time when I was like sick. and it totally helped.
It's well, thank you so much. You were at our last live event, the NOW-IST Experience Live. Gabby was there, and we taught that prayer about an hour and a half. We went into it because I find that to be the
Yeah.
simplest, most effective short-term prayer if you need to forgive yourself, forgive somebody else, to get the
Yeah.
stickiness off of you or off of them, so you don't attract that energy, is to clean and clear it.
Yeah.
So that's why I love that Rumi quote about having the polished mirror, because polished, it won't be sticky, right? If it's
Right.
polished, it just slides off you because you're in your authentic self, which is the purity of the energy that is your heart. So I think that's what Rumi was
That's
alluding to.
so serendipitous that you bring up the mirror thing. I was going into channeling state last night for myself, and something kind of came through about, it was like, you're ready to see yourself? Okay, then dust the mirror off and see your reflection and look. And I think it can often be very scary to do that, you know?
Yes.
Because what we see on the other side of the mirror is skewed by whatever we're feeling. And so to face those emotions can be much scarier than just looking at the physical, you know?
I've learned, Gabby, have you learned this too, that the unknown is where the growth is?
Oh,
Like
100%.
you've got to go,
You have
like
to
you're
learn
brave,
to love
you
it.
got to be brave. You got to just go into that unknown because you know, do I want to stay complacent and safe, or do I want to expand and grow? Because that's why we're all here on this planet anyway.
Yeah.
Is to learn, to grow, experience, to serve. But you can't do it playing safe in your room.
Yeah, exactly.
Room could be your own, limitations
Yeah.
of your past, of your conditioning, of your subconscious
Or
programming.
it's mostly just facing the fear, right? So if being home alone in your room is terrifying to you, then that is what you should be
do that.
doing. Like leaning into the fear.
Oh my gosh.
There was this moment a few years back where I was like really wanting to reprogram all hold the fear on me. It's natural to have fear. We're never not going to have fear. It's intrinsic as humans. We're primal beings, we're here to, we are here to survive. But we have evolved consciousness enough to where we don't have to operate from those places, where it's now a choice.
Yes.
And so as I came to that space, I was like, I'm going to challenge the shit out of all of these fears.
Yes, you go.
And I started with the obvious ones, like the big ones. I've always been terrified of like falling off a cliff. I would have nightmares about that as a kid. So I went and I bungee jumped and skydove and did all the like.
Did it?
Yeah. And it was so liberating. I felt like I died in those moments.
You did. You died to your old self.
I did. But it was freeing. And then the more subtle things that were scary, like singing in front of groups of people. So I started putting myself in every scenario where I would be able to go up on a stage and speak to people. And eventually I got, like, of course the nerves were still there, but I was able to understand the vibration of that is just excitement. And I was able to learn some practices on how to ground so that my channel then was clear, and it opened up. I was like, wow, I don't just have to get up here and sing. I can get up here and invite the whole group to take a breath together. I can get up here and
reframe it.
Be who I am.
Ooh, stay with that. I need you, listen to what Gabby just said, because I know a lot of you out there listening and watching deal with fear of being
Perceived,
being in your uncomfortable zone, because obviously public speaking is the number one or two fear of most people. But that is just a great analogy for anybody's fear, whatever it is. Tell our listeners, viewers, what is like some of the first couple steps you would do to break through? Because I love do what you fear, and the death of that fear is certain. I think of Batman and how he was afraid of the bats in the cave. So he, as a boy, remember, he had all the bats, then he just did it. He became
it.
the bat. And that's what you did. You became the fears, because the fears they just diminish and disappeared.
Yeah.
So give people a couple first steps, because I know when you're making that change, they go, it's easy for you, Gabby, because you're a professional, energy healer, a channeler. You have all this because you've built this incredible muscle through repetition and through faith.
Yeah, exactly.
But somebody who's out there is just literally stuck. They just are afraid of the unknown. What are the first couple things you would share with them to do?
First for anybody, whether you're in a fear cycle or not, I think the most important thing we can do as humans right now is create or join a consistent community.
Yes.
And like a weekly community where you are co-creating, playing, feeling into your body, feeling into the space, whether it's a hobby or like meeting, like whatever it is, but a consistent weekly community. That's the first thing. Because we are not meant to be by ourselves. We're meant to co-create. We are meant to be in community. And so when it comes to fears, we're not meant to face fears on our own. Like there's a reason that, I keep touching my mic. There's a reason that when things come up, it's helpful to go to therapy or to talk to a friend. Because this life as a baseline, humans are overstimulated. Like we come into this world overstimulated.
Yes.
It's overstimulating to be in a body. And then adding the layers of technology, the layers of politics, the layers of learning what it means to even be a human on Earth, base level, we're overstimulated. So when we learn to take that and share it in community, we can create more permission in our bodies to be receptive of help. And it makes facing the bigger things a lot less scary. You know, I didn't go bungee jumping on my own.
Of course not.
I went with someone who was
You
inspiring
skydive
to
by
me.
yourself? No, you probably had someone
No, of
tandem,
course
right? You're
not.
on someone's
Yeah,
back.
Exactly. They helped me pull the chute.
Yeah.
Like, and then the second time I went, they let me pull the chute.
There you
So
go.
it's
There's
like
steps.
baby
There's
steps,
growth. Yeah.
right? So the first things first, go find a supportive community. And that might be someone or people that you don't know yet. That might be people that are outside your
More
friend group
unknown,
or
which
your
is good.
family.
Yeah, that's great.
And I think that's the first step is finding what you are drawn to, because that leads to almost a bigger problem we're in the world right now, which is we're missing the third place. Like we have home, we have work. It used to be like church or book club, but now the internet is the third place. So we're not connecting with community in a physical way as much anymore. And we're losing those aspects. That's why healing is meant to happen in tandem with people.
So true.
And as we spark our own healing, it sparks in others. So yeah, that's the first thing. Go join community.
Step one, got it. Go
Yes.
join a community. Go get out of your comfort zone, but don't do it alone. You can
Yeah.
go with somebody else.
Yeah.
You can get some. It has to be. You can take a friend with you to
Yeah.
another group.
And it can be something you're totally comfortable doing. Like if you're really into knitting or like, I don't know, it could be literally anything.
But do it in person.
In
Don't go
person.
virtually. Don't Zoom with
In
this group.
person.
You need to like take that leap of faith.
Yes.
And get that energy in the same room, that coherent energy, which will give you the support
Yeah.
that you need
Exactly.
to step into that unknown
Yeah.
by yourself or with somebody else. They'll support
Yeah.
you.
That's
Step
step one.
two is
Step two, I'm like, I had step one so prepared. I'm like, step two, I mean, is learning to trust your own intuition and learning where you're speaking from. Am I speaking from my fear? Am I speaking from my truth? Maybe my truth is full of fear, but how do I discern that? You know, and where do I want to be speaking from? Where do I want to be making decisions from? So I think that's where we get clear with what are your desires? What do you want your life to look like? If we all get very clear on what our dream life scenario is, if we all get really clear and give ourselves permission to just dream outside the box, then we can all break through all of these unconscious, confines we
course.
have. And then that makes co-creating in community or in just our relationship to ourselves so much safer. Because that's the thing is fear is telling you you're not safe, you're not safe, you're not safe.
Which is just an autonomic response from the fight or flight nervous system, right?
Exactly.
It's not really who you are.
When your nervous system
it's not really who you are.
Which most of our nervous systems are out of whack. So
truly.
it's naturally going to happen. So if you're saying you're not safe, go find the ways in which you are safe. Go learn the places intrinsically in your body, in your mind, that you consciously know, you logically know I'm safe, but your body's telling you something different. And those are the things you start to tackle. So those are the belief systems you go and reprogram, you go,
and
work
that's a lot of the
with.
work you do with people, correct? That's how you help
Exactly.
them.
Yeah.
So the steps 1 and 2, you can help them through, or you could inspire them.
Yeah.
You can inspire them to just kind of do something
Yeah.
unknown, do something different.
Exactly.
Those are probably scary steps for most people, but they're pretty actionable and easy,
Yeah.
wouldn't you say?
It's mostly pattern breaking.
Yeah.
Like if you're ready to break the pattern of fear, go do something that you wouldn't do in your normal daily life that is in alignment with what you want your life to look like.
And you don't have to do it alone. You can
Simple.
take a friend with you to
Don't have
that
to go
first knitting
alone.
class or that ukulele session or the
Yeah.
speaking at Toastmasters or speaking in public.
Yeah.
Just break out, but go to
Yeah.
and find a community and then tap into your
Exactly.
authentic self, right? Your intuition.
And then I feel like from then on, what happens is almost this natural process of what happens when we grow is we start to attract people that help us grow. And then what also happens is we start to release the people that are holding us back.
There's the big one.
So it's kind of there, and that can be scary for people too. So
You know what's crazy about that? In Australia, they call it the tallest poppy syndrome. So you've got to fill the poppies, and there's one that's taller. they cut that one down to be the same height as everyone else because they don't want you to stand out. Because it makes them look at themselves like, well, I'm not as tall as that Poppy. Be down here with us.
Yeah.
But that's the problem, is we kind of stay sometimes at our comfort zone because we don't want to disappoint other people. We don't want to be different from other people. We don't want to move on with our successes. They're staying and being safe and resting on their laurels. So we have to really break out of that and know that we, by coming up from the rest of the group, we can help them come up to us, not lower our energy, but have them come up.
Oh my gosh, exactly. Well, and this is one of the main fears I receive from clients is like, how it's not necessarily fears, but it just in reflection, they're like, I don't relate to my family anymore. I don't like what they taught me was safe was actually hurting me. I learned how to address that, grow from it, but they don't get me anymore, or I don't have that same connection. And that's terrifying,
growth,
you know. And however, at least in my experience and with what I've seen in my clients, is if that is kind of something where you're like, I do want to be connected to my family, the more you lean into who you are, your authentic expression, that growth, it actually heals your DNA. Like, your parents will get that reflection too, your siblings will get that reflection too, because it's all a ripple effect. Like, we're all interwoven. Every choice we make, every choice they make affects every dimension in every space. So it's one of those things that is so much more powerful than we could possibly comprehend. But it takes integrity, and it takes being willing to be vulnerable. And
that's part of step 2, which is breaking through this. We should name this. You should name it.
We're just making a course right now.
The 3 steps to getting out into your authentic self, or to growing beyond your safe space. The 3 steps. And if I might add the 3rd step,
please,
it would be then share it out to somebody that is afraid to do what you just did. Right? It would be the 3rd step would be, okay, now that you've done it, now go pay it forward to somebody. Now help them do what you just did. And that creates a bigger community. So step 1 is like harkening back to step 3, but then you're taking somebody through this 3-step process that they never thought they could do. But there's 3 actionable, simple steps. It's just like Hafiz. I love Hafiz. He says, just look at the sun. The sun never says to the earth, you owe me. Just look what a love like that does. It lights the whole sky. That's step 3. Becoming the servant to everybody else, because then your life will get better. Then there's all these unknowns and these fearful things that we have. We'll just apply the 3 steps. And there you go. And then all of a sudden the whole world has changed. Through 3 simple steps. So the actionable, simple steps. And we make it too hard, don't we?
Exactly. Well, I mean, all it is, all life on this planet, I think, should be, is just playing.
Leela.
We're just playing.
Sanskrit,
we're here to play.
Leela is what they call life. The game of life is Leela. It's just a game. Life is a game.
And it should be a fun game.
Totally.
It should be
you seem like a fun person. You seem like you have fun.
Oh my God,
you have levity and light about you. No
Let's
wonder people want to hire you and work with you. Exactly.
I'm trying to jump.
Be childlike. That's why the NOW-IST Experience
wonder.
Live, be in that childlike bewilderment. Like at our live event, I'm so in love with being in that childlike energy, because that's where the growth is. Even Jesus says in the Bible, until you can become like a little child, you are not going to enter the kingdom of heaven, which means heaven is on earth, which means to be like a child means you would live like that in this physical time that you're in right now. So why are we all so serious? Why do we take it so on the chin all the time and feeling like, gosh, I gotta do this and that and jobs and people's emotions, and why do we take it on? Just be like a child. Don't take it personal.
Well, and children do take things personal, but they let it out immediately. Like, if they trip and fall, or another kid slaps them, they go, and they like want to fight back, but they just they let it rip, and you know, unapologetically. And of course, as adults, we learn, okay, there's safe ways to do that and unsafe ways. But I think the gist is, when you can find people who are willing to play with you in that.
You know who else plays like that? Dogs. I have our beautiful dog, Pepper. She's one of my greatest teachers. Children are some of my greatest teachers, but our dog, I walk her twice a day. And this other dog the other day was just like all over it. She was like, and then what do you know? They just partied. The dog did its thing.
And they work out the
Pepper
energy.
went and did her thing.
Yeah.
And there was no karma. There was no like leftover energy. Oh, how could dare you enter my space? And I'm going to think about it. I'm sleeping at night in my cute little bed, and I'm still thinking about that dog. No.
Yeah,
They're
exactly.
like back inside. Oh my God.
Yeah.
That is a great lesson.
And you know
I
why?
can learn.
Because they're just there. They're just here to love us.
That's it. Unconditionally. What does
Unconditional
dog
love.
spell backwards?
Yes.
God. I mean,
I know, the dog just walked in.
There
I watched
is-
the dog just walk
see?
in as we were talking
There it
about
is. There's
dogs.
God. Hi, God. God dog.
Hi, God.
But there is the unconditional love of dogs is an example of the unconditional love of God, the unconditional love that we should always connect back to and learn from
Yeah.
our dogs, our
Yeah.
cats. I mean, cats have a similar
Yes.
sense, but they don't have.
Cats are here to help us
Cats
get
spelled backwards is
spiritual.
not dog, so dog has a little bit of a different energy to it.
Cats are like, they're like the,
I don't want to, delete the cat people out there. Sorry, no, I love cats too, but
no, I think cats are like here to help us get spiritual. Like cats in ancient
They're
Egypt
zen.
were
They're
the,
zen.
telepathic connectors and protectors. And to me, my experience with spirituality was very much led and assisted. So actually part of my backstory is when I first moved to Santa Barbara, I had just gotten into hypnotherapy, and I was huge on Dolores Cannon. If anyone,
I love her. She's amazing.
Dolores, for anybody who wants to get some cool insight or background on like anything in the world, but like energy work or neural reprogramming, go look into hypnotherapy. And if you want to learn how to reprocess things in your body, look up Dolores Cannon. She was those were the first books I ever read that
She was channeling,
made
right?
me feel like things were true. No, what she does is actually very similar to what I do in my sessions. Is she puts people into hypnotherapy, and she has the questions they wanted her to ask while they're in there. She calls it the HC, or like the higher self. And so they go through the past life, and at the end, the higher self comes in, and she asks the higher self all the questions. Now, sometimes the past lives weren't on Earth. Sometimes they were. Sometimes they had information about what was coming on Earth that is now starting to unravel, which is a whole other conversation.
Yes.
And also things that had happened on Earth. So it just kind of is a very interesting exploration of the subconscious and unconscious mind and all the wisdom we hold within us.
So you said, sorry, because the structure meant the subconscious and the unconscious mind, right?
Yes, I wouldn't say, I think she's working with the unconscious.
Okay,
Because
subconscious.
subconscious is more like where we hold I don't even want to divulge
Yes.
into that and like not know what I'm talking about. So, but I would say she worked with the unconscious mind. And so when that was brought up, it had all the answers. Like we have all the answers.
Because you're asking your highest self, which is you, minus the programming that you've had through this incarnation and maybe past lives.
Exactly.
Similar to Brian Weiss, who did this wonderful work. Have you read Brian Weiss's book, Many Lives, Many Masters?
Yes, I
So
have.
he did the same, he did something similar. His book came out like in the 80s, late 80s, but he took Catherine through all these lives, and at the end of some of these lives, these divine beings would enter and give him spiritual teaching.
Yes,
So it must be
exactly.
very similar to that.
Very
so
similar.
check out Dolores Cannon, check out Brian Weiss, but Dolores does it in a different way, I understand, right?
So yeah, she was a hypnotherapist. She was the leading researcher in hypnotherapy for like 40, 50 years. She started way back in like, I'm gonna butcher this, but I think it was like the 1960s.
Cool.
I could be wrong.
She was the goat.
She was the goat. She's
was the
amazing.
OG.
And if you're into Abraham Hicks or anything
yeah,
like
definitely.
that, it's kind of all this similar lineage.
Love that.
And yeah, so she developed a way to go deeper into the unconscious mind than any hypnotherapist had ever gone. She called it QHHT, Quantum Hypno Healing Therapy. And so those were the first books I ever read that felt true to me in my life. So much so that I was reading one day, and I was reading a particular past life or something where they were speaking, it was a higher self moment where they were speaking on some truths, and all of a sudden I got this, I felt my heart like break open and take over my whole body.
There it is.
And this whole wave happened, and I just started sobbing. And I was like, I don't know what's going on right now.
Oneness.
I don't know what's going on. And my cat came and laid on me, and I got my notebook and just started writing, and what came out was me remembering why I'm here, why I'm on the planet. Now, during this time, for context, I was having terrible, terrible anxiety attacks to the point of insomnia and panic attacks, which is the reason I adopted my elderly cat, because she would just come sleep with me, and like that helped me through. But once I started reading and getting into hypnotherapy, I started to learn about, how the mind works and all these different levels and how we have access to all these different levels of awareness. And so I started meditating, and eventually, in my meditations, I started to deal with the anxiety and the insomnia and the fears that were there. And they were like unconscious, deep-rooted things that were unexplainable.
They're from your past lives, you think?
Some of them, because some of them were, what's it called? Just irrational. They weren't in the conscious mind.
Yeah.
But the insomnia was coming from me being afraid someone was going to break in and do terrible things.
But you had never had a
Never had
break-in.
any
You had
experience like
somebody,
that.
No one has ever, nothing like that's ever happened.
No. And so one day when I was meditating, this came up, and I was like, oh, interesting. I'd gotten to the point where I could kind of observe it, and I was like, I feel empowered to face this person breaking into my mind right now. Like,
Yes.
I feel empowered to stand up for myself.
No fear, no doubt. You were ready to go.
So I did. I kind of built a whole vision out for myself where they came in and I faced them and I beat them up.
Yes.
It's like, get out.
There you
I
go.
beat them up in like full ninja mode.
Yeah.
And got them out. And
This is happening in a meditation, correct?
in a meditation. And as soon as that happened and I kind of defeated them, I never had insomnia again or anxiety again.
Wow.
And there was a couple other moments where fears like that came up that I addressed and faced in my meditations that also helped that. But yeah, that was one of the main
And
ones.
in this meditative state, you physically took care of them. It wasn't like an
Yes.
energetic.
No, I was fighting them in my head.
Yes. And you
Full ninja
prevailed, and all of
Yeah.
a sudden your power is back,
Yes.
right?
And
Never to return.
exactly. And it's what's cool about that process is I was like, oh, this is all an empowerment process too. Facing our fears brings us to this empowerment place, and that's where we have the clearest channel for our higher selves, or our most aligned selves.
Isn't that interesting, Gabby, that you went through that experience and then you went to the next level, kind of like Dolores Cannon does, where the past lives, the lower energy just kind of falls away, and that higher
Yeah.
self just rises above.
Yeah.
And that becomes you, and that becomes your new life and your new
Exactly.
profession, and
Exactly.
your highest self is now the champion
Yeah.
of it all.
And to that point, to be honest, like I'm so grateful I had that discovery process with myself and went into kind of the whole spiritual aspect of past lives, whatever, and levels of consciousness. But now it doesn't feel very important. I don't need those to relate to. Like I don't need those as identity. It helps me understand myself, but
You don't have to go back.
I think now it's just easy to operate intentionally because I've like had that. That's the work,
Yeah, that
And
is
then
the
I
work.
think eventually get to the place where being spiritual isn't like all of the kind of, I guess people call it woo-woo or whatever.
Yeah.
Being spiritual is being human. Like we come to this full circle place where it's the now,
Yeah, because we are not this physical expression, right, having this temporary experience. We're infinite beings having this temporary experience,
Yeah.
right? We don't just like end. We're not food for worms.
Exactly.
We are this energetic experience and this kind of blip of these, some people get 100 years here.
Yeah.
But still, when you look at the bigger picture, the infinite picture of your soul, which never dies, never ends,
Right.
you're just here to experience the earth school, I
Yeah.
think, as a lot of teachers call it.
Earth school.
The earth school, right? We're just learning.
Earth
So learn the
school.
lessons, but you
Fun.
don't have to wait to learn the lessons.
Yeah.
You can have an awakening, a satori, a flash of enlightenment where your heart exploded because you actually put the attention and awareness to it.
Yeah.
And then what do you know? You get the gifts of,
Yeah.
okay, I'm not going to be afraid anymore. No panic attacks, no anxiety.
Yeah. Exactly.
Because you did the work. And that's the work. And that's why, as a Nowist and teaching people as I do and having these wonderful conversations with lights like Gabby, we get to inspire people to do the work.
Yeah.
The work is just a daily practice.
Yeah.
It's a daily, intentional, focused ritual. And then what happens is you become proficient. Like your subconscious mind reprograms.
Right. And then it's not work anymore. It's just being.
That's who you are.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you never really, that's why I love Dr. Wayne Dyer talks about, he was asked to be on The Secret. You remember that movie, The Secret by
Yeah,
Rhonda
of
Byrne?
course.
And
Yeah.
no bagging on The Secret, but he refused to be on that show because he says, you guys want to attract what you want. And the reality is you only attract what you are. not
Yeah.
what you want.
Yeah.
You can't say I want it and then you have it. You have
Yeah.
to be it.
You have
Come
to be it.
from the end. That's why I teach people to think from the end instead of about the end. About the end is I
Yeah.
want to have this new car, I want to have this new job, this new relationship, and when it happens, then it'll all be happy.
Yeah.
But in this moment now, you hallucinate, you imagine, you see yourself with all 5 emotions in that end,
Yeah.
and there's no time. It's just you're already there. And then the universe conspires to help you manifest exactly what you are, not what you want, and then it's already done.
Yeah. One of my favorite kind of trends right now is like the whole be delulu, be delusional.
Oh, I haven't heard that one.
I love it. It's like
Be delulu, I like that.
be delulu, and it's like I don't know. There's a whole phrase to it, but
Like hallucinate.
yeah, it's just like be delusional enough to think that you can do whatever and like it's breaking these chains of like how we should be.
We need a new vernacular. Be delulu, I like that.
I like be delusional.
Because
It's
we know the power of words.
Yeah.
And most people have a word like that which empowers you. It's like, oh, wait
Yeah.
a minute, it's cool to be delusional.
Yeah.
It means I'm
Dreaming.
out of my old self. I'm in this new pattern, in this new energy.
And then the integration of that is grounding and you know, but I think the main permission part is be delusional enough to think that anything you want can happen.
And know that delusional is not a negative word. Like my grandma she was the queen of the one-liners, God bless my Nana. But she says, ignorance is bliss. Like, you're so clever, we're so smart, we're so educated in the sense that we educate ourselves out of presence, out of our highest self, because of the story we keep telling ourselves, we keep repeating. But if you're ignorant, if you're simple, ignorant in the sense of Jesus says, the meek shall inherit the earth.
Yeah.
That's the same phrase,
Yeah.
basically. You have to be humble, simple, connected to what you really are, your highest self, which is really a higher vibrational energy that the society would look at as a lower vibrational energy,
Right.
which is simplicity.
Yeah.
Which is, ignorance is just a word that most people have used for simplicity in this state. What do you think about that?
I think that there is, I love the kind of oxymoron of that being complex in a way to me, because I think ignorance is where we're aware that there's important things to be aware about, but consciously choosing to stay unaware. So that's kind of where I see the almost negative connotation of ignorance. But I see what you're saying almost in the different way of how the more we learn, there's a word for this, but the more we learn, the more we become aware of how much we don't know.
Yes.
And
Einstein, he knew it at the end of his life. He says, imagination is more important than knowledge. That was his direct quote.
100%.
So what was he saying? He was saying that the infinite possibility is more powerful than anything I can physically read or study.
Or attach to my identity as knowing. And I think in that's kind of where the power is, where we choose, and our bodies know intuitively what we're called towards learning and understanding.
Just block it, don't we? We block it.
Sometimes, and I think sometimes too, the world can be overstimulating to where right now on Earth it kind of feels like to even engage in conversation with people, you have to know so much about so much.
Because of comparison mentality, right?
Yeah, because of wanting to feel safe in community. What happens in tribe when you get kicked out? You die.
We need acceptance, yeah.
Yeah. So we still have that programmed in our primal bodies.
Yeah.
So that's why people, become people pleasers and try to do whatever it takes to be able to connect with people, because it's safer in packs, it's safer in community, it's safer in groups.
Yes.
And so like as we evolve, I think one of the most radical things we can do is, number one, not hold in your belly. Number two,
I love the steps, yes.
Number two is not be afraid to lean into what you're called towards, and be okay with asking questions or being ignorant about other subjects that other people know about. I think it's really hard in this day and age and I really admire the people that are like, wait, I don't know about that. Can you tell me more?
Yeah. Not have to have it all figured out all the time.
Yeah.
Be the smartest person in the room.
Right. Because that's actually, that's probably the most intelligent person, is the person who has their ego checked enough to be actually curious, because that's that childlike wonder again.
It is.
Like when we operate from curiosity, things are inviting. The world isn't scary. It's not a competition. It's just this like playground.
There's no getting it done, is there? There's no like done. Like You have this life, you do the best you can, you serve as many people as you can, you be a light for the world.
Yeah.
But it's not like you're done. It's like because you're infinite.
Yeah.
So to finish, I believe, is to be in the present moment as a
Yeah.
way of life. If you want to be done with this life, if you want to like feel like you accomplished something, take your positive energy and infuse it into each present moment and then pay it forward to somebody.
Yes,
Bring your
exactly.
light, shine your light that's shining on you right now from this disco ball. Shine that on everybody else.
Yeah.
And then find out how your life changed because you're acting like the sun, like that Hafiz quote. You're just giving it away.
Yeah.
Because you can't, like water, they say in the Tao-Te Ching, like how do you experience water? You have to
Yeah.
become one with it. You can't grasp it. When you grasp it, it eludes you. You have to become one with it. So if we get into the oneness more
Yeah.
consistently, then we become of service to everybody.
Yeah.
And it's not about what can I get out of it, but how can I serve?
What do you think about the people who are find validation in the external world by how productive they are? Like how do you
That's a
speak
trap.
to that?
That's the ego, right? I mean, you want to be productive so people think that you got a degree, you accomplished this, you rang the bell, you finished the task, you did it, you got the A, you completed, you won. And I think we have this egoic construct of I am separate from what's missing in my life. I have to compete with everybody else, and I am what I do, I am what I think, I am what I have.
Yeah.
So that's the ego, and once again, Dr. Wayne says EGO, edging God out. That's
Yeah.
an acronym for ego. So when you come from the oneness, you need to return to the oneness. And what is NOW spelled backwards?
One.
Yes,
One.
one. One. Like when
Like, wait.
sorry, there's too many
I'm just
tests today, I know.
like-
But when you're in the now, Gabby, you've won. You've won your presence. It's also a homonym, ONE, one. One infinite moment. So the truth is, if we can get back to the oneness, the construct of, the doing and the having to compete and be with the Joneses and be the coolest person on Instagram or
Yeah.
Snapchat or whatever, to compete with everybody is the separation from that oneness that brings in two-ness. And the two-ness is not your authentic self.
Yeah.
Your highest self does not live in duality. It only lives in the one.
Yeah.
So the work, that's why I'm so obsessed with the present moment awareness, the
Yeah.
NOW-IST, everything that I teach and believe in, and just make videos like this thanks to Alejo and wonderful guests like yourself. We get to shine the light back on what it means to be in the moment and
Yeah.
not be separate from everybody. Because
Yeah.
the ambitious people that are trying to do things are just kind of separating themselves. They're
Yeah.
trying to be like that tallest poppy I talked about. They want to be above everybody else.
Yeah, because that feels safer when you don't feel in control, or even if you're aware that that's something you have programmed in you, the need to like compete and do and
But it
outdo.
never serves you, does it?
And it drains you.
You're
I
never
mean, that's
done. You're just never done.
because you're not operating from a sustainable place.
Yes.
You know.
And you know it because then you have addiction patterns that show up.
Disease.
You have health
Yeah.
issues. You have physical problems. You have stomach
Yeah.
aches. You have headaches. You have
Yeah.
migraines. You have all these
Anxiety,
conditions,
depression.
panic attacks,
Yeah.
like you used to experience.
Yeah.
But here's interesting. The interesting part of what you just shared earlier was that how you got through your panic attacks and your anxiety was going into yourself, going into the unconscious,
100%.
subconscious part of yourself,
Yeah.
and then doing battle with yourself.
Yeah,
It wasn't
literally
about
working it
competing
out.
with some external expression of somebody else and having to do this, the job, the thing, whatever, to be the best person. It's no, I'm going to go inward, and that's where the growth is. It's a journey
Yeah.
without distance and a step in the direction of you.
Yeah, and I think like just to full circle that too, on the bright side of learning to create that relationship to ourselves. I mean, my channeling work business, it's called The Good Friend because I'm here to help people learn how to be their own best friends. Learning how to become a good friend to myself was such a process. It was going in, having the battles, but then also learning where the stillness comes from. And that stillness comes from acceptance, like
Yes.
radical, unconditional self-acceptance.
It's surrender, right? Just
Yeah,
surrendering.
surrender. Like, it's okay that I'm cringy sometimes.
Totally.
It's
That's
okay
human.
that
We're human beings.
I stumble when I speak sometimes. It's okay that, I don't know, I've made mistakes. It's
Good
okay
for
that
you.
other people make mistakes too, and I think all of that, because forgiveness is like one step, but acceptance is almost like that deeper,
Yeah.
like, okay. And now, and it's a constant practice, like that never goes away. There's always going to be self-judgment. There's no perfect state of being.
Yes.
It's just being here now and learning to accept the now, and then take responsibility and integrity with it too. And that means the work is continuous. There's
Amen,
never
sister.
a point we
Preach,
get to.
preach, preach, preach. I love it.
We're just here.
And I think a great way to end this phenomenal experience with you. Thank you so much. Namaste,
thank
sister. I'm
you.
so blessed to
Namaste.
have you here in this experience. To me, it always comes back to step one in any spiritual endeavor when it comes to getting out of anxiety, overwhelm, stress, fear of the unknown. It's to awareness.
Yeah.
If you can come back to awareness, and all the great teachers, Eckhart Tolle, all these great teachers talking about present moment awareness, step one is always awareness. Are you aware that you're stressed? Are you aware of your past trauma? Do you
Yeah.
have the awareness to then go into it and identify it, see how it affects your life?
Yeah.
Then to do the deep work that you shared so
Yeah.
brilliantly on our podcast,
Thank you.
to get out of that false self that is really not you.
Right.
Awareness is step one.
Yeah. Yeah.
Truly.
Amazing.
Wow.
Thank you, Billy.
How can this community find Gabby?
Okay, if you want to find or connect or talk about anything spiritual or development, my website is thegoodfriend.net. My Instagram is _thegoodfriend_, or search Gabi Pereverziev. I'm the only one. And I also am very into sustainable clothing. There's not a lot of options for undergarments currently, and that's kind of a whole conversation, but me and a couple friends have just launched our company called Sauna Wear Co, and it's hemp underwear.
Very
so
cool.
fully made in America.
Awesome.
We are really excited for this launch. So check out Sauna Wear Co on Instagram. And lastly, I'll shout out One Thread Collective, and they're doing amazing, amazing work with the indigenous Wayuu tribes in Colombia. They were displaced from their land. And so now the only way that they're able to support in community is to become entrepreneurs. So One Thread Collective has gone out and helped them learn how to become entrepreneurs. And so please go check out One Thread Collective if you want to be in support of a really beautiful organization. That's,
Thank you.
You want to say about
Helping
the trip
people.
coming up?
Yeah, there is a donors trip coming up in May. If you would like more information on that, go to One Thread Collective on Instagram, or I believe their website is onethreadcollective.com.
Thank
That's
you so much. This has been so enlightening. Full. My heart is full.
Thank you, Billy.
Thank you so much.
Thank
and
you.
we're going to see you online.
Woohoo!
People are going to connect with Gabby. Go search her out. She's an amazing light in this world.
Thanks, Billy.
Wishing you all the blessed.
All the best.